You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Rosie, the Leafs narrowly avoid disaster last night, almost extending that losing streak, into 6 straight games, but an OT winner off the back of John Tavares for the 1-on-3 corner battle, and William Nylander doing William Nylander things, finishes that thing off. Toronto Maple Leafs beat the St. Louis Blues in overtime, and all is forgiven. Own goals, disappearing acts for 5 games. The Toronto Maple Leafs get a win last night. You're back in the right spot. Now all of a sudden I'm looking at the East standings, looking at the Atlantic Division, and I'm looking and going, maybe there's a chance. Maybe we find our way back into this thing relatively soon.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Well, I mean, before that game, like, what did you think? You think it was going to be pretty? You think it was going to be perfect? You think it was going to be seamless? No, but they had to come together. They had to bear down. No, they weren't playing the 92 Penguins, but they had to they had a job in front of them, and they had to get it done, and they did. And it's a step in the right direction. Like, at that point in time in the locker room, you'll take any positivity you can get, and you'll focus on that, because there's been nothing but negativity to focus on for 2 weeks. So yeah, you take it. You absolutely take it. You focus on the good, and you try not to dig into the bad. There's been too much of that lately. So, hey, job done.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting a pretty game last night. I mean, look at just the sheer number of guys that were out of the lineup, let alone the names that were on that list. And then you start to look at them. We find out just before puck drop, Matthew Knies isn't playing. Austin Matthews didn't play. Carlo, Tanev, Lawton, Watt, like Stolarz. Like, you go down the list and you're like, oh my God, it's not just, it's as Vic pointed out last night on the postgame show, like, your 1C, your first line left winger, your 3C, your 4C, your 1 defenseman. Like, it's some big pieces in there. You're expecting some guys to step up, but I didn't expect the game. Let's start with this first. I want to get your thoughts on this, because when it happened, so I've brought her up a few times, but I'm watching these games now with my girlfriend, who is relatively new to hockey, and she's made the joke that in the last 2 years we've been together, she's watched more hockey than she's watched in her life combined. William Nylander bats that puck in out of the air into his own net last night, and she goes, why did he do that? I had no explanation. Most things I'm like, well, he's probably trying to do this, and he made this mistake, or he fanned on it, or he missed the puck, or he didn't see that guy. I didn't even know where to begin. I'm not trying to be negative on this Nylander play, as you're seeing on YouTube right now. But puck comes across into the corner, out to the guy at the side, shot in the air, above his head, and Nylander tries to backhand bat it in. I didn't even know how to begin to break that down or justify that to her. I was like, I don't know. He just did it, and it was the wrong play. Like, what do you say to that?
My wife was asking the same this morning too. It doesn't really, like, shit happens, right? Like, you try to do X and it goes in. It's not the first own goal that's ever happened, but the puck was going away from the net. Willie was going away from the net. The puck bounced right to where Willie could have it drop right on his stick side. Instead, he bats it back towards the net, and it's not like he whiffed on. It was just weird. And the only thing I could chalk it up to is it's one of those like instinct reaction, like quick reaction things where you just see something and kind of swing at it. But, like, we know Willie's poise. He doesn't panic, and his hand-eye is disgusting, judging by the overtime goal. It doesn't make any sense. But again, like, I don't think it's time to have the point shaving conversation in the NHL quite yet. But shit happens is all I can really say. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's tons of own goals where I'm like, oh, I could see what he was trying to do there. It's like it was coming right to him. He could have had it land at his feet and skate away with it, but he bats it into his own net. Pretty shocking. Again, he got away with it and made up for it, just like he told Joseph Woll he would do for him. Weird stuff. I also don't have much of an explanation except for probably just instinct reaction to just swing at the damn thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, look, it ends up just being a funny moment of the night, and they ask him about it after. He said, I had 2 goals tonight. It was good to find the back of the net early. It's good that he can have a sense of humor about it while these kinds of things are going on when you've just gone through this slump and narrowly avoided a disaster last night and come out with a win against the Blues. But regardless, to start the game off that way, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, this is how this one's going to go. And then start thinking, as you just alluded to, the FBI investigation is going to be underway here. We're going to have guys knocking on William Nylander's door tomorrow or this morning, but not the case. Just a weird play in general. I just want to point out here, I see it in the chat a bunch, Rosie, and people are saying they didn't make up ground on anybody. They're not like they're climbing over teams here right now in the standings, as I had kind of brought up when I say, hey, they're still in this thing. I think one thing you can take solace in if you are a Leafs fan right now, regardless of what you think about the way the team is playing on the ice, is that they are playing that way on the ice, and they're 5 points back of the Detroit Red Wings, who are in first place in the Atlantic Division right now. A little bit more ground to make up when you look at the Hurricanes and the Devils, who are over on the Metropolitan side with 27 points. But the Maple Leafs right now at 20, and you look at the Red Wings, 25, Bruins 24, Habs 23, Lightning 22, Sens 22, Panthers 21. You're talking about a small gap here, Rosie, where if you can start to find a way to put some things together, maybe get some wins with this group as assembled, like what we saw last night, where you're missing some of those big boys and you steal some games. When you get some guys healthy here, you could find yourself in a decent position to kind of ramp up and get yourselves back on track to be one of, if not the top team in the Atlantic Division if all things start going right.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about winning the Atlantic again this year at this point in time. Like it's baby steps. You're trying to scratch out of the basement here. You're trying to get yourself into a wild card, and you're trying to get a little bit of a cushion in a playoff spot is I think what they're looking for. And, we'll take the next month and a half or so and see what's going on early in the new year after Christmas, see where they're at and see what they need to do. But you just got to chisel points away right now. I mean, the lineup of bodies that are on the shelf right now is kind of incredible. Like, do we have to start talking about the Leafs doctors or training staff? Like, are they just hair triggers, or are these guys soft, or is this a calamity of error at the same time with these injuries? It's shocking how many guys, and it's just another Waz out too, and now Matthews isn't going to play. Stolarz is done. Knies isn't going to play today. It's 20 minutes before the fucking game. Like, it blows my like. Look at that, Brandon Carlo, their new Chris Tanev, like Stolarz, like that's insane that they have that much.
A graphic right there.
I have trouble feeling like there's another team going through this much. People are talking about Florida and Jersey and stuff like that, but people just love to say, oh, the Leafs are shit. It's like, okay, well, they haven't been playing well, but look at the amount of man games lost to injury, and important man games, guys that are difference makers. So if you can rattle off 2 points at any point in time during this and keep yourself in the fray, that's got to be their MO right now. And you got to be happy anytime you do that, even if it's against the St. Louis Blues, which are, down there in the basement as well. And the whole MO is getting people healthy and having some momentum and some positivity in an environment where you can get guys back and step into a role where there's already some momentum, and just keep adding to that team so that when you do look at Christmas and everybody's healthy, hopefully you have some ducks in a row and things are in order and you can start ripping it off. And maybe other teams will go through their slumps at that point or run into the injury bug. Is Boston going to hang out there all year? Is Detroit going to hang out there all year? Hard to say, right? So I think that as brutal as this start of this season has been, I think there's reason to think there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think they can play any worse. I think that this is absolutely the worst stretch of the season for them. I mean, if it's not, we're having different conversations, but it's crazy that nightmare scenario has happened. It's on our lap, and there's still hope that these guys can do some things here. So, call me an idiot and call me, out to lunch with that take. But I mean, I think last night getting the 2 points against all odds, having that type of injury problems, which is only going to get better. I think that's reason to believe that there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and these guys could put it together, but they got to take, the strong efforts and everything that they haven't had at the beginning of the year and put it on the ice when they're healthy and start to figure out who the hell they are.
Yeah, and as Vic points out there, add Sammy Blais to that list as well of injured guys. Obviously, we don't know whether or not he'll play on Thursday, but he left last night's game coughing up blood. So, hoping the best for him there. Hopefully that's just some freak incident that took place, and he's going to be all good and be available to the team on Thursday. But that's just another guy to add to the laundry list. And, I mean, even to your point, Rosie, it's like you talk about man games lost. Talk about money games lost for these guys. How much money is tied up in those players who are missing games? I think last night it was somewhere around, before the game started, like $33 or $34 million worth of players are sitting up in the press box for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And no matter how you want to shake this out, because I got a lot of pushback yesterday being like, well, the guys who were out, they sucked before they were out. It's like, okay, well, there's still important pieces who, if they can get things in the right track here, they can be playing and making a positive impact on the team. But it's a lot of guys missing, a lot of important guys missing there as well. Missing from today's show is Nick Alberga, who is down at the practice facility this morning, getting some pretty cool stuff done, Rosie. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. Likely some stuff being played on the show, as well as some stuff here on the Leaf Station 401 YouTube channel after. So make sure to subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast platforms. Last night was the first game since November 1st, Rosie, and that somehow feels like it was 10 years ago, but November 1st that the Leafs surrendered less than 3 goals in a game. Do you chalk that up last night to a commitment to defense and a commitment to playing the right way and playing Berube's style, playing some hard-nosed hockey, or is that a factor of you played the St. Louis Blues and they kind of stink?
I think it's a bit of that, and I think a third of it is Joseph Woll. He's solid. We haven't had solid goaltending. I think he gave them a chance and made some of the big ones and turned away some of the ones that he should. There was no blunders, he really wants that back. And it's just weird. Like, when your back's against the wall and you got a bunch of guys that otherwise wouldn't even be in the lineup or in the league in some situations, and guys that are trying to prove themselves and new to the team in one way or another, you just kind of knew that they were just going to bear down and get it done. Yes, it helps they were against the St. Louis Blues and not one of the top dogs in the league. But it's just so funny how the stuff we've been talking about when they're losing, it's like you need to just bear down with more of a, with more vigor and just with the mentality of a guy who's fighting for his life. And they haven't had that. It's been nonchalant responses to dog shit performances, nonchalant responses to terrible periods, nonchalant performances in general. And they're just getting their net filled on them. And it's kind of funny. Like, do you blame, people are pissed off that Willie's taken some of this or that. And, Matthews has taken some of it, but like, how else do you describe the fact that they have a commitment to defense last night? It wasn't the prettiest game. It wasn't going to be the prettiest game. It's two doggish teams battling for like scraps in a lot of ways, but you knew that they were going to show up and have the commitment and have the effort and have those last 3 strides and make the right play and make the right line changes and have the right back checks and pick up their guy. And they did, and they got a win where what was going on before when they had a healthy lineup playing bottom feeder teams and they get stroked, it's a mental thing. And, when these guys get healthy, again, I hope that there's some momentum to jump on and start riding, but it's just, again, their problem to me is mental. Like, how do you not bear the fuck down after some of the atrocious performances where you have a chance to redeem yourself and get the ship back pointed in the right direction? And it's just flabbergastingly absent from their game and they get filled again. It's a mental thing. So, there's no reason that the lineup when it's healthy shouldn't be a good hockey team. They're better than what they've shown. And lo and behold, so Leafy, you got this decimated lineup and all these guys where people are laughing at the lineup before the game and they get 2 points. It just doesn't gel and it doesn't jive. And to me, it shows that the core of the group and the mainstay of the team, they've not had their heads screwed on right. It's not Craig Berube. It's not Tree Living. It's these guys on the ice who are not committing themselves to, I need to go out of my comfort zone. I need to do something special tonight. I need to have every shift for every minute of play be a total commitment to working my nuts off and doing things the way the coach is telling me. And I got to have trust that the guy beside me is going to do the same thing. It hasn't even been close to that. And that's, in my opinion, the reason they're in the position that they're in right now.
You know, one of the other things that I'm curious to get your thoughts on, but a lot of this season, and specifically during this slump, this losing streak, and even dating back a little bit before that, I think one of the main feelings I would come away from a game with, let alone talking about X's and O's and systems and yada, 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 like we can go down that list as much as we want, talk about the defensive structure and the opportunities they're giving up, but a lot of these games, Rosie, it's felt like dead, if that makes sense. Like, it just feels like there's no energy. There's no energy to start the game. There's no energy when the other team scores. There's no energy when you score, if you tie it up, if you take a lead. Like, yeah, the guy who scores the goal is obviously going to be excited. Like, you're seeing Nicky Bobby get down, fired up on one knee, like he's celebrating like that. Nylander's pointing at the guys in the crowd last night after the OT winner. Like, there's that kind of excitement. But outside of that, through these games, it's always just kind of felt like this, as True Living said yesterday, to steal a page out of his book, vanilla. It's felt vanilla all the way across. And last night, it felt like it tailed off a little bit through the end of the second period after the penalties by McCabe, and then into the third period, and they kind of fought their way through some of it. But it felt like there was an energy. It felt like there was an enthusiasm towards the game, and like guys excited to show up and play hockey and be in the NHL. You know, like Jacob Quillen comes out on his first shift, the puck goes down in the corner, and he's a million miles an hour after the guy, hammering him into the boards. He's not a big, heavy guy who's going to create a ton of damage on the defenseman, but it's a guy that all of a sudden is out there and you're hearing the glass rattle. I said to Vic last night, that might be the first time I've heard the glass rattle from a hit by a Maple Leafs player all season. Felt like there was an enthusiasm last night towards playing, and I feel like personally that helps contribute to some of the success that they saw, especially on the defensive side of the puck, and you know, maybe some of that energy that we saw offensively that got generated, not too much last night because it wasn't oozing through, and I think some of that is from who was playing, but I just feel like that approach and that mindset towards the game helps them.
Dude, helps them. It's everything. It is everything. Like, that's, look at the teams that do well. They come out with that energy and vigor every single night. Like, that's how Nathan MacKinnon plays. It's how the Florida Panthers play. It is energy. It is enthusiasm. It is grit. It is, no matter what you throw at us, we'll take it. You want to play this way? We're there. You want to play that way? We're there. We're enthusiastic. We're energetic. We're poised. We're ready. And the Leafs, like, throughout this season have looked flat. Just flat, ho-hum, blank fucking stares on their face, average body language, ho-hum, vanilla, 100%, man. It is never that way. Like a good lunch pail gang type of team that digs in and is ready to work. Like, they have that vigor and they can respond to whatever the other team throws at them. This team just comes and says, we're willing to do this. And there's a line right there. And then they go out, and if it requires more than that, we're not going to go there. We don't go there. That's not really what, no, looking around, no one's doing it. Someone else, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to do that. It's just quiet. And it's exhausting watching. And I don't want to, I wasn't planning on getting negative on them or anything, but like, that is the answer. Like, you have those dog shit performances back to back early in the season with Detroit. You have, take your pick on the games where you think they're going to have a response and put this thing back on the rails, and away you go, and there's nothing there, and they get smoked again. And then it's, let's do another show about what's wrong with this team. And then it's fire Berube and it's fire Tree Living. And it's these guys out there with the blank stares on their face. Like, get a heartbeat. Seriously, you're playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And how many performances have we seen where it's what you just said? It's a little bit quiet. Like people bitch at the fans for not getting up. Well, what have they shown them? Like the first time you've seen the glass rattle? You kidding me? At this 20 games in, where you built a team with more character and more snot, and no one's ever like forechecked and ran a D-man, like that is their problem. No one's willing to get out of their comfort zone to, like, is it too hard? Are they lazy? Like, what is the deal with it, man? It drives me insane. And I know 100% what you're saying, and you're almost dipping your toe into it saying that might be, part of it. It's everything. It is everything to come out there with energy and enthusiasm and be fired up and be willing to do things to get you the win. I honestly feel like a lot of the time they're at like 80%, like 78% is what I'm going to give tonight. And I'm like, where is the rest? And it is the reason. I know they've had the injuries, and that is not helping matters whatsoever. But early on, it was the sole reason why they got into the predicament that they have been in. They're just giving an average amount of effort and energy, and it's shocking.
And I think having some of those new guys in the lineup last night helped. I think Troy Stecher had some jump right away. I think that Easton Cowan playing 16 minutes last night really kind of starts to show through, where you can see that youthful energy, youthful Vic, and to those in the chat last night who heard me struggle to find my words and say youngness, Rosie. That was the word I chose. It was whoops. Youthful energy. It kind of worked, but it's just like you see these guys who are like fighting for NHL positions and fighting to show that they deserve in the lineup. Even the guy like Simone Benoit, who, again, I'm not going to say like this guy put on a Norris performance last night. He had his warts in his game, but it felt more energetic from the guy. He's probably looking around going, oh shit, well, like, Myers is in the box. We picked this guy up off waivers in Troy Stecher. He's playing. He looks good back there. And Simone Benoit's looking around going, oh, man, if we get guys who are healthy, OEL's staying, Riley's staying, Carlo's coming back, Tanev's playing, McCabe's playing. Well, if Stecher can move the puck and move his feet, where do I sit? And it felt like he had a different approach to the game. So you could start to see a little bit more life in those guys. Hopefully a win helps. You know that the losing streak carried a cloud over them in that locker room every day. It's us talking about it on shows, and again, it's a lazy narrative to say that the media is the reason these guys lose and are in that situation. I agree with you, it's hard, but we're not why they're losing. I'm not the one batting pucks out of the air into my own goal, but it's guys around asking questions, and it's just like, yeah, we stink right now. Well, you won a game. Let's move forward. Let's take a breath. Let's allow that to set in. And some more positivity, Rosie. We do have super chats here. I want to get to those. Proceeds from our super chats do go to Sick Kids Charity. Our super chat charity partner is Sick Kids. You want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a super chat. Proceeds go to Sick Kids Charity and ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. This first one comes in from Daza McD. This says, Vic's rant was an all-timer last night. Cheers, boys. Go Leafs, go. From a good old Dryden, Ontario boy with Chris Pronger's mom, Isla, as my grade 3 teacher from Canberra, Australia at 3 a.m. Well, Daza, appreciate you tuning in at 3 a.m. Pretty cool note there about Chris Pronger's mom. But yes, Rosie, for you and for those who didn't catch After Dark last night, who didn't see, producer Vic joined for the first time this season, and he gave it to partly myself and Leafs Nation as well for the negativity, saying, paraphrasing here, but I don't care how they won. Stop complaining about how they won. Let's be fucking happy that they won. Shut the hell up with the negativity. And started to bring some positivity to Leafs Nation last night, Rosie. Do you think that that's something the rest of the fan base could take a note from here as we continue on after last night's win?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I tuned into After Dark briefly before I had to do the whole bedtime routine and saw that you're kind of on a rant again. I was like, ooh, he's not letting this go. And it's what do you want to look at? Do you want to hold on to the big picture of the fact they haven't been good enough and this season has been disappointing? Then let's just bang that drum the whole time. Or do you want to take it day by day? You break it down sometimes. We're going to go shift by shift. We're taking it one period at a time. We're just looking at today. We're not looking at tomorrow. You got to break things down into those segments to climb out of adversity sometimes. And I was 100% focused on the fact that they got to win. I don't care who it was against. I don't care who was in the lineup. I don't care how it looked. I don't care that it was in overtime. You have to snap that streak and clip it and leave it behind you. And then we move on tomorrow. Now, what are we doing? And you take those baby steps. That's how you climb out of this shit. It's not, this team sucks. It's not constructed well. The core is rotten. They're fucked. Tank for McKenna. Like, okay, like what is the point of saying that? You want them to
You're
adopt
just
that
quoting
mentality?
my post-game show, dude.
Close the fucking doors then. Put a chain around the doors and just shut it down. Like, what's the point, you know? So nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next month, what's going to happen at the trade deadline, what's going to happen in the new year, what's going to happen the day before playoffs, if they so are in it. But they are trying to rectify this problem, and any step they take in that direction is a good thing. So I'm all about that. And you just know that the guys you just mentioned who come up, whether it's guys on the hot seat like Benoit or guys that are trying to prove themselves in the NHL who are called up in Toronto who have been picked up on waivers, you know they're going to be buzzing, and they're going to have the attitude and the energy and the intensity to do whatever's in their power to affect the game in a positive way. And I can't say that's the case for everybody. And that's what pisses me off, because I know there's guys in the NHL who are miles above where I was who can get away with that, who can afford to take a night off, who can still get 1-1 on the stat sheet, and were pretty dog shit everywhere else and did not give their honest effort, but they're kind of tired and their shoulders sore, so they can get away with that. Fine. I know that those guys exist, but when your team is having this monumental meltdown crisis, supposed to be a contender for the NHL, and you're literally sharing the fucking basement of the National League with everyone else, nobody can afford to have that attitude. Nylander can't, Knies can't, Matthews can't, Stolarz can't, McCabe can't. Nobody can have that attitude. Everyone has to go, oh my God, I really got to show up tonight. And they have had ample opportunities to have that attitude. And shockingly, they just haven't. Like you said, so many nights it's quiet and emotionless, and there's blank stares on their face, and it's ho-hum each shift, in between every whistle. And it's why they are where they are right now. And as a guy who needed to be desperate every single shift just to stay in the league, I mean, there's all different parameters of that. You need to be desperate to be a leader on your team. You need to be desperate to prove to your coach that you have the right stuff. You need to be desperate to stay in the lineup. You need to be desperate to stay on the top line in the top six. Whatever the hell the circumstances are, it's shocking to me that we haven't seen more of that out of this group, that every day they got to talk to the media and answer the questions and have Berube chew them out and stop practice and rip them in video. Like, it just, you can't tell me there isn't more to give than what they've shown this season, healthy or not. To a man, as individuals, bring more to the table to help out the team, they would be out of this thing. And I can't for the life of me rack my brain enough to figure out why those dropped balls, when you think there's going to be a response and there's nothing and they get filled again. I can't figure it out, man. And people are saying character and the core and the culture. I mean, you start to shine light on those types of things when you're all out of options otherwise.
Yeah, J-Rock here brings up a super chat as well. Catching a bad team this injured is lucky. Enjoy it. I think that's kind of the point we've been making here on the morning show, and even last night on the After Dark kind of discussing as well. You know, yeah, you played a bad team, but you also were missing some significant pieces. You found a way to win. It wasn't pretty, but you got out of there with 2 points. Some heroics from William Nylander. Maybe that's something you can look at and rally behind. But, Rosie, there's a couple guys, as we kind of mentioned, that I think stood out last night. Joseph Woll being one of them. Just kind of want to get your thoughts on where he's at right now. I think it was a .905 save percentage that he put up in the first game he played on Saturday against Chicago. I thought he looked good. Again, maybe this is like a pessimistic view, but I was like, okay, like it's not quite there. I thought that was fair to say on Saturday, and not in terms of him giving up bad goals, but there was a couple times it felt like maybe he was fighting it a little bit, or the rebounds weren't quite perfect, and you could feel he was just getting back into the game, and that's understandable. It was a long time without playing, NHL hockey before Joseph Woll jumps back into that game on Saturday. And then you watch that game last night again. Yeah, it's the St. Louis Blues, and maybe they're not the most lethal shooters and offensive team on the other side, but Joseph Woll made the saves when he had to. He made some big ones. Early on, we're talking about the fact that the shots were like 21-8 for the Maple Leafs late in the second period, and he probably on those 8 shots had made like 6 or 7 like super dangerous, high danger chances, big saves that he had to make. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked calm. I thought he looked confident back there. And I thought he provided a little bit of confidence to the guys playing in front of him.
Yeah, I think this is best case scenario with Joseph Woll through 2 games. I don't know what he was going through on when he took a personal leave from the team. That could be anything. And I know how mental that position is. And mentally being away from the team like that obviously is draining. There's all kinds of other pressures and circumstances and wonders, and sure, he was supported and everything, but a guy to just have to put up his hand and go to management and say I have to leave for whatever reason is out of the ordinary. It's not something they prepare for. It's not something they train for. It's not something they're used to. It's not something he's probably ever done before. So difficult scenario, especially in Toronto, especially being a goaltender where it's so volatile and it's so fragile, and your difference between good and bad is just the margins are very thin. So to get put back in that spotlight when the team is just terrible, like nightmare scenario going on around the organization, you lose the other goalie who hasn't even been playing good. Now you're get thrown into that circumstance. Like, this is the best case scenario. Him coming in and looking solid. Like, that is a foundation. Good. Phew, take a breath. Now let's see if you can get really good. Now let's see if you can steal games. Now let's see if you can get these highlight reel package saves that you have no business making, right? That's the next step, and he's capable of doing it. He's done it before. Now let's see if we can get the support of Anthony Stolarz, get him healthy, and get back in there, and then start looking at the schedule saying, what ones am I probably playing? What ones are him playing? Let's start leaning on each other, talking to each other, becoming kind of this 1-2 team who pushes each other to be better, who, you know, a little sly game of like, who's playing better? Do I get to play back-to-backs? Are they keeping me in, or are they going to switch it up? Whatever that is that they had going on last year, they handled it very well, and it was tailor-made for them. And they both, like, we couldn't figure out who was better, and they were both good. So this is a perfect scenario for Joseph Woll to come in for 2 games and do what he did. If you had higher expectations, you're a fucking idiot. If you thought he was going to be garbage, why would you think that? I think that's probably a more likely scenario, is him to come in and struggle. It would have been a nightmare, but he came in and he is solid, and nobody has said anything other than Joseph Woll was solid. He's making the saves that he needs to make and then some, and giving them a chance to win every night. That's like step 1 in crawling out of this mess that the Toronto Maple Leafs are in. He's doing his job. You hope it continues and he can build on his confidence in getting back to his winning ways. And then guys can start funneling back into the lineup from these injuries, including Anthony Stolarz. And again, day at a time, just start building on this. And all of a sudden, you know, you come up for air after a month of hard, bloody work, and you look at the standings and go, oh, baby, we are in this. Like, hopefully that disaster is behind us.
I'll open the floor to you here and kind of get your thoughts on if anybody stood out to you more than the other. But Troy Stecher and Jacob Quillen. Troy Stecher plays his first game as a Leaf. He gets picked up off waivers. +1, 1 shot on goal. He had a hit. He played 13 minutes and 30 seconds of time on ice. It was something I looked into after. I think a lot of that just had to come from special teams. You look at the rest of the defensemen on this roster, there were significant amounts of time spent on penalty kill or power play that were taken away from 5-on-5 minutes. And I assume as Stecher gets more comfortable with the systems, the lineup, Berube, all that, we'll see him kind of get some more minutes and get some more opportunity. But as it stands last night, 13 minutes, 30 seconds of time on ice. Jacob Quillen there, he plays his second NHL game. If you remember last year, I think it was him and Nick Cousins who collided in the neutral zone out in Ottawa for his first NHL game late in the game, or late in the second period, and all of a sudden it caused a little bit of a scuffle. But I thought both guys provided some energy. Quillen had 4 hits on the night. He played 9 minutes of time on ice. Did either of those guys stand out to you in their 2025, 2026 Maple Leaf debuts? And was there anything redeeming that you'd take away from either of them to say, hey, maybe that's a guy who could be here and help this team going forward?
Well, I think Stetcher is a guy who they could probably use. I mean, you look at the way they've been playing on the back end, it is discombobulated, and Stetcher's game is just to be bobulated. You know, it's solid, work hard, be in the right spots, don't overcomplicate it, and move the goddamn puck. And if you need to play with a little chip on your shoulder, you need to play physical, you need to be a bit of a prick out there, you need to have a bit of an attitude. You know, I think he'd be the first guy to fly in there if anyone comes near Stolarz or Woll, which has been absent for some unbeknownst freaking reason to everyone in the world, why they wouldn't be hair triggers with protecting their goaltenders. He's got that stuff. And a guy like him, he's had to work for everything. He's got, you know, he got 500 plus NHL games in the league as not the biggest guy in the world. You know, he's going to be a workhorse. He's going to have a bit of skill. He kind of just covers everything. And I think he's just there's leakage going on all over the back end. He's a guy that just plugs some of that. And that's exactly what they need. With Quillen, you expected him to be buzzing. You know, he knows what this team needs. He knows what this team's looking for. He knows what the market appreciates. He's going to work his nuts off. He's going to hit everything he can. And if he has a chance to get behind their guys with his speed, he's going to take that opportunity. He did all those things, right? What were the expectations? Just to be trying to see the obvious effort of a guy trying to impose himself on the game. Second NHL game, man, this is still very fresh to him. He's still 100% getting used to the speed, the transition of the game, the devastation of turning the pucks over and how fast it goes the other way and how quick one mistake turns into an odd man rush in that league. It makes your head spin. So he's 100% still wrapping his head around that and figuring that all out. And in the meantime, I thought that how he went about his business, he did what was expected of him and asked of him. Couldn't ask any more than that. Is he going to be on the team the whole season? Is he going to be a difference maker? I don't know about that. We'll see. But as of right now, you got an opportunity, and I think he made the most of it. And both those guys did their job. I could see Stetcher being a guy that that is not a staple in the lineup, playing every game, being the one guy that you don't have to worry about. That kind of thing. You know, we had that in spades last year. We don't have any single one of the guys with that, you know, on the docket this year. There's holes left, right, and center. There's boneheaded plays. There's missed assignments. There's getting walked. There's being out of position. It's been bad, and it's been one of the biggest reasons they're in the doghouse right now is their defensive core has just not been themselves. And it's wild because it was the same bloody core as last year, where they were lights out and we never talked about them. We never worried about them. That mixed with the layer of goaltending, I mean, it's why they won the division in a lot of ways. So I think Stetcher could help them out a lot, and there's a reason they picked him up. And, you know, as much of an underwhelming pickup as it was to a lot of people, you sniff around a little bit about what's this guy all about, and people are like, you're going to like him. You're going to like him. Oh, he's going to do well there. Oh, you're going to be happy you have him. And I think so far that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, when they picked him up, I asked one of our friends over at Oilers Nation about him if he could give me like a little brief scouting report, and he said if you put it in one word, it's adequate. You know, the description was that he is a guy who can make a pass, move his feet well, get up the ice. He will make some good plays, some bad plays, but he's never a guy that you're going to lose your mind over. And I think that in a lot of ways, that's kind of what they need right now. They just need somebody who can provide some stability, as you said, be bobulated back there on the back end and just kind of ease things out a little bit and be like, hey, you know, as we saw in the first period, picks the puck up behind the net. How many times are you watching Phil Myers or Benoit or Mermis right now pick that puck up and either rip it off the glass and try to get it out, or turn that thing up and try to make some pass to somebody who's not there and turn it over? Well, Stetcher picks it up behind the net, goes for a wheel, starts turning up the ice, and draws a penalty. Like, you know, he's got some ability to move his feet. He can get up ice, and he can make a pass. I think that's a good thing to add to the back end, especially when you're talking about your 6th, 7th defenseman, a guy who can create some depth and be in that spot to maybe play alongside OEL, who's playing really, really well right now. Play alongside a Jake McCabe or whoever it might be as you go forward and get some guys healthy. You can balance things out a little bit. He's also a guy who plays on the right side, which is something you've been lacking a little bit too. But Yeah, I thought Stetcher was good. Quillen, interested to see what he gets with some more opportunity. Obviously jumping in there. Berube kind of getting used to him, but shoot the fucking puck, guy. Like, sorry for the cursing, but watching him go on that 2-on-1 with Morgan Riley where he's forcing the backhand dish to him backdoor, I'm like, just shoot it. Like, just shoot it. You are a really, really good player. Just shoot it. Have some faith in yourself, guy. But I think that's something that'll come, and he's going to get some opportunity here, Rosie. Nick Waugh is going to be out for a while. Austin Matthews is going to be out for a while. No idea when Scott Lawton returns. I think ideally you don't want Domi playing center, so he's going to get some chances here with the big club, and I think that that'll be a good opportunity for him and for the organization to see what you've got in him.
Yeah, and when's Nyes going to be back? It's I think that Lawton will be up next. No idea on Nyes. I think if I had to guess, I would say Matthews would be mid next week. If you talk about Tanev, is he going to be back after next week as well, or is it going to be in December, mid-December? Like,
this is the thing, Rosie. This is the one team in the world. Like, sorry to do negative, but like, it's the one team. It's just like, are you kidding me? Sometimes where it's like a little bit of transparency on these things, I think goes a long way. Like, Jack Hughes fucking falls on the ground at a team dinner, and the team tells you how many shards of glass were in his hand. Like, Austin Matthews goes out in this, like, lower body injury. Tanev, upper body injury. It's like, dude, fuck. Like, there's no clarity on any of these things. It's just always. And then the fan base, it's the one thing, like, I get protecting these guys in the playoffs. I'll never question that. That stuff I get, it makes sense, and people say, well, that doesn't happen. People don't target that stuff. You tell me Matthew Tkachuk isn't going to look at a guy and be like, I know he just came back from a hand injury. If I get a chance, I'm going to tap his hands. Like, he's not out there to slash your hands off, but he's going to do it. Like, I believe that. I do. Maybe he'll tell me that's not the case, but I believe that. But I think it goes a long way with the fan base, and maybe that's not what they're trying to appeal to, and they don't give a shit, Rosie, quite frankly, but I just don't get it. Like, right before the game, Nyes injured. He's out. Lower body. Like, we don't know anything. We don't know timetables. We don't know how it happened, when it happened. It's not like we need to know that information, but just like a little nugget, I think, kind of eases people's minds. That's the one thing I just don't understand right now. But it's my
and
opinion.
Then for them to slide in the fact that he's been dealing with this for a while and it just got significantly worse one day. Yeah. On one hand, he hasn't totally been himself out there, and he has avoided scrutiny because of how awesome he has been for this team and how much of the future he is and how he plays the right way. And he's got so much of the different stuff that is needed. So, people are not even looking at him as part of the reason, not to mention he's 22 years old, but, he hasn't seemed himself, like and I wondered, like, people are like, he's getting absorbed by the shitty culture, and he's got no leadership to tell him how to do things, and he's dropping off too and not sticking to his strengths. I was like, I don't think so. I'm certainly going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he hasn't been that dynamic power forward flying in there. He's kind of been, a little bit of gliding and watching, and let me just see if I can pick this pass off out of the air rather than go and take away the time and space and be this bulldog. I'm kind of wondering, like, shit, come on, Nyesy, like, you can be a difference maker. And it hasn't quite been there up to what we've seen from him at his best. And lo and behold, he's been injured for how long? I don't know. They won't fucking tell us, but They have mentioned that he's been battling this lower body injury. So I'm like, God, has his groin been tweaked for 5 weeks and it finally just went on him? I don't know, but it certainly sucks to hear. It's worrying that he has been battling an injury and now he's out. But maybe, at least if you look back, you could say, well, that was Nyes nowhere near 100%, right? So take it for what it is. These injuries are brutal. You got to get them back, and the guys have to fill in while they're there. But again, I hope that, you see the Stetcher and you see the Quillens, those guys come in. That they were going to give you everything they had, and it was going to be palpable. Like you said beforehand, there's not that energy, there's not that intensity. You knew it was going to be there with them. I hope that they continue to do it and it rubs off on other people so that when we start funneling guys back into the lineup, it's already there. They feel it. It's contagious, and it's you know, you got to start molding that part of the identity. And for whatever reason, with this team's full and healthy, they don't seem to be able to dig in and find that identity. Maybe these replacement players can kind of set the mold while these guys are all on the shelf.
By the way, Jimmy 2 times in the chat here is letting us know, like, he does not give a fuck why players are injured, and we need to stop asking. So we should not care why guys are out and what happened to them. We'll just drop that,
I don't
Rosie.
care anymore.
We don't care anymore. Yeah, no, sorry. We don't
I don't care
we don't
anymore.
Need to know. No, we don't need to know. This next segment is a present.
But with the Leafs, I
ahead.
get why they do it. Like, they've obviously drawn a line in the sand and said, we're giving nothing. That is how we operate. We give nothing on injuries, nothing. And it's like, cool. But like, it's at the point now where you just kind of look like, oh, he's going to be day to day and he's 5 weeks. It's just like, then don't fucking say that, man. Like, I get things happen and, you know, you re-aggravate something or it's not responding to treatment the way you want. I get that stuff happens, but they're so cloak and dagger about it on this team that it's just anytime they even mention anything about an injury, I roll my eyes and saying, well, not even going to take any consideration into what you just said because of your track record, basically.
Yeah, I think for me, my point is more so like, and it went into overdrive last year when you see Austin Matthews is like day to day and they're monitoring it and he's in Germany. Like, how did you get to a different continent when you were like day to day? That's what I don't understand. And now I know that he doesn't want to disclose that injury, didn't even speak about it at the end of the year. Sure, makes sense. But like, big picture, I'm talking about how did you get there? How did you get to fucking Germany seeing a specialist when you were day to day? That's one where you could come out and just say, he's dealing with something significant. We're working through it. Okay. Now I'm not shocked when I find out he's in Germany. Yeah, you're working on it. You know, that's my pushback on it. That's why
Agreed.
I talk about having a little bit more openness. I don't need to know
what's
that.
wrong with that?
Nyes banged it on this shift doing this thing and it hurts this way. Like, you don't need to tell me that, but like, maybe a little bit more transparency, even as we've talked about. We're sitting here being like, this guy could play this game. He could not. Matthew Knies skated yesterday morning. He had a walk-in photo walking into the rink yesterday, and then he didn't play. Like, that's the transparency that I'm talking about, where it's just like, hey, he's dealing with something. He's day-to-day. We're expecting him back in a week. Some of these guys just disappearing. Like, you see the reporters, there's a million of them, including our boy Alberga, who's at the rink this morning, and it's like, haven't seen Stolars in 2 weeks. It's like, okay, where is the guy, you know? And I'm just using that as an example, but these guys like disappear and it causes panic that maybe doesn't need to be there if you just say from the beginning, he'll be out. He won't be skating with the team. Done. Nobody's going to ask a question anymore.
The reason they do it is to protect themselves from this monstrous, market that is everything surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's why they keep it real in-house to not like, give any information or fan any flames or create any narratives, but it totally works against them. Like you said, with the Matthews thing, if they just were a little bit more open about it, then people, like you say, okay, he's getting looked at. Like they said, he's got something bugging him and not sure if it's going to be a constant issue, if there's something we can do about it, but we're exploring all avenues. Right now he's week to week. Okay, cool. And then you hear he's in Germany. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. But instead it's this big shock and people feel slighted by the team. And then it creates the whole thing that they were trying to avoid, which is 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, again, I don't need to know what the guy ate for breakfast, but to hear day to day and then find out he's in Germany, that's the extreme example. But I think that's where fans lose trust in what's happening and who's speaking on what. But anyways, Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Every time the Leafs play at home, you can get these exclusive deals only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, BOGO Brisket Hat Trick, Kibo Sushi, the BOGO California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, BOGO Traditional Wrap. That's right. Buy one, get one before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Rosie, I got 2 stats for you here. One, you're not going to want to talk about, and it's negative. The other one will flip to the positive, and we can touch on these briefly. As I'm sure at this point we've said everything we could say about the one stat. The power play, 0 for 3 last night on the season, 8 for 53. 8 for 53.
what is that
I don't even
percentage?
know.
Like 15%?
Yeah, I'll do this quickly. But there's not even a question I'm going to ask you, which I guess is kind of a lame way to approach the stat here, so I'm sorry. But, like, there's no asking, what do you do to fix this? There's no asking about changing personnel. I guess just kind of throwing out, how do you feel here in 8 for 53, which would be 15%? Is that right? Vic, you tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah, 15.1. That's insane to me. You can't. I don't care who you're running out there. Mitch Marner, no Mitch Marner. 15%. That can't be happening. You got to figure that out.
Like, it doesn't even make sense that Willie's numbers are just gross. Like, Knies' numbers were unreal. JT is just this ageless phenom. Yet they're having they're like second in league scoring. And they're having this monumental meltdown start of the season, tear it down to the studs, tank for this guy, that guy. Should we go for our unprotected top 5 pick? Like, insanity. Meanwhile, Willie's just on pace for, like, I don't even know how. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I get it does make sense. It's like, well, you're all offense, no defense, and you guys are getting filled, and the net's been bad, and your D's bad, and your goalie's been bad. Yes, but, like, Jesus, like, the success that they have on paper is crazy. You would think that there'd be some parity there with struggling to score while the team's struggling. Nope, not the case. But, and then on top of that, their power play, like, usually guys like Willie just get cookies on the power play, like dog shit 5-on-5, get your 1-and-1 on the power play that night. Do that every handful of times and your numbers look phenomenal. But they're never scoring on the power play. He's getting all that 5-on-5. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And that's why I think there's so much hope for the team with what they have. You just have to friggin' buy into a system that's conducive to keeping the puck out of your net and whatnot. Maybe get some power play looks. What is the answer to the power play? Good question. If they don't fucking know what it is, then how would I know what it is? It just blows my mind that they can't find some semblance of success with an extra bloody body out there. Like, look at what they're capable of doing with the puck, with their hockey IQ, with their vision, and they can't even come close to sniffing on goals 53 times, and they can just barely scratch 15% of the time with success. It's pretty shocking, man. People are talking about fire Savard and stuff. Sure, fire Savard. Bring in some other, like, I thought their power play was terrible in Calgary. Everyone was saying when they hired Savard, why are you bringing this guy in? He's lazy and their fucking power play sucks. I don't know.
Dude, you don't need a new power play coach. You need a miracle. You need a miracle right now to get these guys out of this.
You should not need a miracle to get that roster of talent to score power play goals. They've been doing it their whole lives. It's just, how against the grain are they going? Like, how, like, are they're almost like bumping into each other because they're so off the same page. Can't you come together and figure out, like, legit talk? What do you like to do out there? What do you see? What has brought you success in the past? What is your dream setup? What's your dream play that we could go to all the time? And then get everyone's input on that first unit and try to meld it into something that you think would make it click. They have to have done that. I've been on teams where it's just like, power play, meet in the video room. Here's what their kill does. Here's their tendencies. All right, go out there and get them. Like, I don't know. It makes you wonder with how bad it is and what their personnel is. Like, what are they actually doing back there to rectify this? Nonetheless, again, if they don't know what is the answer, I don't get how you could ask me what it is.
The other thing that I want to bring up here, I don't think there's too much to get into, but Morgan Riley's taken a lot of heat this season. And I mean, for the past few seasons, the After Dark show, Rosie, you should see these guys are outlawing the guy. They want him playing in the ECHL. They want his contract bought out right now. But Morgan Riley picks up another point last night. He's on pace for 68 points, which would match his second highest total in a single season. He had 72 back in the 2018-19 season. He had 68 in the 2021-2022 season, and on pace again here for 68 this season. He continues to motor along. Good season offensively for him, but I think that's the story for most of this Leafs team, as pointed out in the chat. I think this is correct. I'll double check it, but third for goals for in the NHL, third last goals against. That's just how it's been. That's Morgan Riley is a microcosm of the big picture there. Can't play D, but holy shit, can he ever put up points?
There's some middle ground there that they need to rectify. I mean, they've got the goaltenders to do it. I think that's on its way up again. Maybe it was just the timing of everything. Injuries, goaltending, defense heads up their asses, and you're left with this 5-game slides. Damn near last in the NHL with getting your net filled with pucks. They've got the abilities. Like, look at Willie and look at JT, and we know what Austin can do. And you got Knies, and like Cowan's got so many chances that aren't going in for him. He could be a guy that could actually put it together. I mean, Nick Robertson's playing as consistent as he's ever played. Like, the power play makes no sense. They should be able to clip along at a better percentage than that. Like, there's reason to believe that it's in there. It's in that room. It's going to be interesting seeing if they can figure out who the hell they are and get healthy and take off with this. You know, it's going to be an interesting finish to November. There's going to be some more bumps in the road. There's going to be some more ugly looks. I promise you that. But I'm thinking that, by that second and third week in December, can these guys start to show us what they're going to be this year? Or is this it? I'm not there believing that this is all the team has. You look at the shining things they have, and it's like, my God, this team, they 100% should be so much better. I'm really thinking they have the ability to get it on track still.
Last thing here before we get to our best bet, there's a super chat that came in, a big one here as well. TVD59 says, as the league strives for parity and it seems to be working, don't you feel that a bunched up standings is going to be the norm in the future and every game matters, even in October? Your thoughts, guys? I'll answer first, and I want to know if you agree with this or not. I do think so, especially going forward. It's going to matter. As the league continues to expand and wants to spread talent out, I think that's naturally what you're going to get when you have a hard cap in there, and that's the case. So that's kind of the baseline of it. But I will say the difference becomes when you look at the way some of these teams are playing, and I understand the parity and like anybody can do it and anybody can turn it on. The difference for me is, like, I believe there's enough talent in the Leafs room to make the playoffs. I don't think, as currently constructed, they have what it takes to get to the next level. Maybe that's just me being cynical, but I feel like 9 years of not working has led me to this point where it's like, you got to prove something otherwise for me to believe it. I understand the parity and saying how important it is to get the points, but I just kind of feel like right now the way you play is much more indicative of what could happen in the future. Like, you look at some of the Western Conference teams, and I'm like, wow, there's some juggernauts over there. Dallas, Colorado, like, those teams are not to be messed with. Even the Carolina Hurricanes on the east side of things, playing the right way right now, man. Just continue to roll along. So, yeah, maybe they're not getting some of the points that they could be getting to be far and away above some of the other teams, but you can tell there's a massive difference in what they're bringing to the game every single night versus what the Leafs are. So, yeah, points are important, but I also think showing up and playing the right way is more important at this time of year because you can make some of those up later on.
Yeah, and I like the parity in the league. I like the idea that you have no idea who's going to win a division. You have no idea who's going to win a Stanley Cup. That's great. You know, people get real tired of, not dynasties, but, knowing that this team has no hope in hell and this team is going to go very deep. It's better to not have a clue, right? And it is better to not to be able to have to care all season long, right? Yeah, it's a good thing. And if it continues to be more parity, also good. But there's also the fact that what is the motivation for like winning your division if the wild card team could stomp you? What is the motivation for killing yourself and playing through injuries when you don't care who you play in the playoffs. There's that thing too. So it'll make it interesting, but I think by any stretch, having parity in the league and having everybody be able to beat anybody on any given night is a good thing for the league and for the fans and for everything. So it's in a good spot here, and you're looking at the standings right now, and it's showing that it is happening.
All right. It's time for our last call here, Rosie. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. That's NATION. Nation. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. A few different NHL games across the board tonight. 4 of them in particular. I am looking at the Edmonton Oilers against the Washington Capitals. The Edmonton Oilers right now are plus money against Washington. They're on the road, mind you. But I feel like at some point, and this has to turn around a little bit for the Oilers, like they've got to find something. I know the goaltending has not been very good. I know the defense has not been very good. Kind of almost a little bit similar to what's going on here in Toronto. But and yeah, it's something they've dealt with for a while. But, you know, you have 2 very special people over there, and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who at any given moment could say, not tonight, we're going to win this game. So at plus money against the Caps, I know it's on the road, but I'm taking the Oilers to win this one tonight.
Yeah, that was my bet. Even money Oilers response after getting their bare bum spanked there on Monday. Plus money, Edmonton Oilers with those 2 guys. Let's do it. And there's also a little combination here. Parlay, Ovechkin, Draisaitl, McDavid goals is plus 1,600. So just a sprinky on that. Little fun stuff. See if the big boys show up. See if Ovi's still got it in the tank, as I know he does. So, yeah, sprinkle that for some fun and look for a Oilers response.
I hope Nick today at practice asks William Nylander who the hell he was pointing to last night after he scored that OT winner. That's the thing I want to know. It's inconsequential. It really doesn't matter big picture. But he pointed at whoever that was, and he held eyes, held the point, skated past, and then came back and still held the point. So I want to know what was going on with that one, Rosie. Hopefully Nick can ask the Big J questions down there at the practice facility today, but he does return to the show tomorrow along with some special content right here. The Leafs Nation 401, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcasts. I appreciate you having me in here today, Rosie. I know we came on wondering what the hell we were going to talk about. A lot of guys missing. Not the prettiest game in the world last night, but we found a way to get a show done here today, and I think, if I do say so myself, it was a pretty good one. So appreciate you having me, and you'll get your boy Nikolai back tomorrow morning.
Good stuff, man. Good sharing the desk with you. It always flows easy. There's never nothing to talk about in this market, as we know.
It's true.
But we kept her on the rails. We didn't go too fluff, and we didn't go too negative. I think I contradicted myself maybe 3 or 4 times, which is expected on a day like this. But
I do it regularly.
It is what it is. I was happy to do it, man. Thanks for jumping on. Until next time.
Thank you to Rosie. Thank you to all of you guys in the chat. Thanks to producer Vic behind the scenes. Appreciate everyone who watched today. Hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel. Back tomorrow morning for another edition of Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill. We'll talk to you guys then.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.